من عباد الله محرمون على النار. That this group amongst the slaves of Allah Ta'ala, the hellfire has been prohibited for them. The hellfire has been prohibited for them. Now, وَالنَّارُ مُحَرَّمَةٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. So the hellfire is prohibited for them and they are prohibited for the fire. فقوله يبتغي بذلك وجه الله تفيدنا فائدتين. That this statement, يبتغي بذلك وجه الله, they are seeking by way of that, meaning by way of their testimony. When they say that, seeking by way of that, the face of Allah, this brings about uh, two benefits. Afwan. Now, this brings about two benefits. Al-Ula, the first benefit, إثبات صفة الوجه لله. It brings about the affirmation of a face for Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, this attribute of a face of Allah Azza wa Jal. وهو وجه حقيقي يليق بجلال الله تعالى. It is a wajh, it is a face that is real. It is an actual face that is befitting of the majesty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This is how we look at, we understand these principles, ayyul ikhwa akhawat, in relation to the asma wa sifat of Allah Ta'ala, that the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, they are to be taken upon their apparent meaning, based upon what we understand them to mean in the Arabic language. However, we did not assign a kayfiyah to them, because there's nothing similar to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There's nothing at all similar to Allah Ta'ala, and He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. So we don't assign or attempt to assign a kayf or a description to the attributes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Similarly, we don't negate the meanings of the attributes of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Likewise, we don't do anthropomorphism or liken them to the attributes of the creation. Likewise, we don't make a tahrif or a ta'wil, meaning we don't explain them away to mean other than what they mean in the Arabic language. These four affairs, affairs that are agreed upon by the ulama of Ahl Sunnah, that we do not do in relation to the sifat of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So when we say the face of Allah, for example, or the hand of Allah, or the shin of Allah, and the likes of this, then we understand them based upon these principles. And we understand that if Allah says He has a hand, or He has a face, or He has a shin, this is exactly what it means. However, as for the kayf, they have a kayf, but we don't know that kayf. As for the howless of Allah Ta'ala's attributes, they have a howless, but we don't know what that howless is. However it is in a manner yaliqu bi jalalihi, that is befitting of the majesty of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And there's no likeness between the face of Allah Ta'ala and other faces. So the first benefit that we get from this narration is that Allah Ta'ala has a face. He has the attribute of a face, but that face, it is befitting of the majesty of Allah, and not befitting, or it's not resembling to the faces of His creation. The second fa'idah, shartu al-ikhlas fi qawli la ilaha illallah, is the condition of sincerity, the condition of purity and sincerity in the statement la ilaha illallah. يعني, meaning لا تنفع قائلها إلا إذا كان مخلصا, meaning the one who says la ilaha illallah, that statement will not benefit him or her unless they are sincere when they say it. Unless they are sincere when they say it. Because some of the people say the statement, but they don't mean it. They say the statement, but they are not sincere when they say it. Perhaps they desire by way of that some other worldly goal or benefit. They desire protection. They desire to keep the Muslims from harming them and the likes of this. They desire whatever they desire from dunya, but they are not mukhlisin when they say that statement. So in order for the statement to benefit a person, male or female, they must be sincere when they utter that statement. They must be sincere when they utter that statement. Now, he says, فَتَحْرِيمُ عَلَى النَّارِ صِنْفَانِ. And so the prohibition for the fire to consume or to burn or to punish or to for people to inhabit it, it is from two angles and perspectives. There's tahrim al-dukhul and tahrim khulud. There is the prohibition of entrance into it, and then there's the prohibition of remaining inside of it forever. على وفق ما فصلنا آنفا, and this is in proportion to what we have previously mentioned. Now, وهذا الحديث في تحريم الخلود. من قال قائل ما دليلكم. This narration here that we have, it is the narration of At-Tawhīd that comes from the two Sahihs, as we have mentioned. فإن الله حرم على النار من قال لا إله إلا الله يبتغي بذلك وجه الله. That indeed Allah Ta'ala has made whoever says La ilaha illallah, seeking by way of the face of Allah Ta'ala, prohibited for the fire. Now, that this narration is speaking about the tahrim of khulud, the tahrim that it is prohibited for them to remain in the hellfire, because some of the people, they may have to go to the hellfire in proportion to their sins, but as long as they have said La ilaha illallah yabtaghi bidhalika wajh Allah, seeking by way of the face of Allah Ta'ala. Because one saying La ilaha illallah, even if they are sincere, it does not mean necessarily that they're going to be free of sin. It doesn't mean that they're going to be free of sin. Perhaps the person may only commit some sins for which they will be under the mashia of Allah Ta'ala, under the will of Allah Ta'ala. And if Allah wills, He will punish that person. If Allah wills, and He will pardon and overlook. So if it be that by way of the will of Allah Ta'ala, this person has to go to the hellfire for some time, then based upon this narration, they will not remain inside of it forever. So how do we see it? What is the evidence that this narration is speaking about khulud, meaning remaining inside of the hellfire for all eternity, as opposed to entrance into it? Then we say the evidence is ما ثبت متواترا من أحاديث الشفاعة في الكبائر, is that which has come in the successively reported narrations from the ahadith that speak about shafa'ah and intercession for the people of major sins. And the intercession will take place, and some people who have gone to the hellfire will be interceded for and thus come out of the hellfire. So those who come out of the hellfire, who do we suppose they will be? Will it be those polytheists who died upon shirk? Will it be the disbelievers who died upon kufr? And other than that, la, it's going to be the people of Tawheed who may have sinned and disobeyed Allah Ta'ala. Now, they will eventually at some point come out from the hellfire. وَأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَدْخُلُ النَّارَ وَيَخْرُجْ مِنْهَا بِالشَّفَاعَةِ بَعْدَمَا يَسِيرُ فَحْمًا. And some of those narrations, some of the narration that speak about the intercession, it is mentioned within that some of the people who enter into the hellfire, some of the people who enter into the hellfire, they will come out of the hellfire by way of the intercession of the interceders after they have been burnt and become charcoal. فَهَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ دَخَلُوا النَّارِ وَأُخْرِجُوا مِنْهَا بِالشَّفَاعَةِ. These are they who, or these individuals who entered into the hellfire and were taken out of the hellfire by way of the intercession. هل هم موحدون أو مشركون? Are they then people of Tawheed, or are they people of polytheism, shirk? Now, this is a rhetorical question. And of course, they are the people of At-Tawhīd. فَهَلْ خُلِّدُوا فِي النَّارِ. So, what we see from these narrations is that what? They're going to be taken out of the hellfire. They're going to be taken out of the hellfire. So, since they have been taken out of the hellfire, then quite obviously they are not remaining inside of the hellfire forever. So it shows you that, what is prohibited for them is khulud, meaning they will not remain inside of the hellfire for eternity. Now, lam yukhalidu, they will not remain inside of it forever. إذن التحريم هنا تحريم خلودي لا تحريم الدخول. So therefore, the tahrim, the prohibition here, that the hellfire is prohibited for them. What is prohibited for them here is remaining inside of it and not necessarily entrance into it. نقول هذا جمعا بين حديث الباب والأحاديث الأخرى التي أشرت إليها في حديث الشفاعة. And this is based upon reconciliation between the hadith of this chapter as well as the other hadith that we have alluded to, mentioning the hadith of the intercession. فإن النصوص قد قضت وبان بها أن بعض أهل التوحيد يعذبون على الكبائر التي ارتكبوها. And this is because he says that the text necessitate and make clear that some of the people of Tawheed are going to be punished in proportion to the major sins which they've committed. ثُمَّ مَآلَهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. And then the end result is going to be Jannah. May Allah Ta'ala make us from the people of Jannah. May Allah Ta'ala protect us from ever having to enter into the fire. What we want to draw attention to here is that some of the people, they rely upon the fact that if they have to go to the hellfire, they want to come out of the hellfire. Well, we must know, أيها الأخوة والأخوات, that the hellfire is such that you don't want to go to it for 1 second if you don't have to. Save yourself from the hellfire, even if by way of a half of a date stone, because you can't deal with the hellfire even for 1 second. You want to avoid the hellfire even for a half of a second. Don't you know? Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentions inside of his book, لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا. They're going to remain inside of it for أحقاب. أحقاب, أيها الإخوة والأخوات, is the plural of حقب. The plural of the word حقب. Now, the word حقب, as we know, in the Arabic language, the least amount that a plural can be is 3. The least amount that a plural can be in the Arabic language is 3. One of the Salaf was approached by Ali ibn Abi Talib, who asked him, what have you found within the scriptures of the people of the book regarding how much a hookup is? He said that we do not know how long a hookup is. However, it has been stated that a hookup is 80 years. One hookup is 80 years. Now, mind you, the least amount of plural can be in the Arabic language is what? 3. And Allah Ta'ala said, لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا. They're going to remain inside of it for أحقاب, plural, 3 or more. Now, he said, we don't know how long a hookup is, but it has been stated that one hookup is 80 years. Each year is like your years, meaning it has 12 months. Each month is like your month, meaning it has 29 or 30 days. But each day is 1,000 years. Each day is 1,000 years. Allah Ta'ala said, لَا بِثِينَ فِيهَا أَقَابًا. Imam al-Tabari mentions in his tafsir that this verse is interpreted to mean, or interpreted, or it's understood to be applied to the disobedient ones, the sinners are the people of Tawheed. Because Allah Ta'ala says what about the disbelievers? خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. They're going to remain inside of the hellfire forever, with no particular time frame attached to it. So let us bear this in mind, ayyuhal ikhwa, and let us not simply rely upon a hope for intercession. We don't know if we're even going to be worthy of intercession. And let us ask Allah Ta'ala for safety and security and salvation from the fire. So we don't want to go to the hellfire for even 1 second, much less a hookup or a ahqab. Wallahu musta'an. But we know that the people of Tawheed, the end result is the paradise of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. Secondly, La ilaha illallah muqayyadatun biquyudin. The statement La ilaha illallah muqayyad. It is restricted by way of certain restrictions. And whoever fulfills those restrictions or conditions, hurrima ala nari dukulan, then the individual, he will be prohibited for the fire, meaning from entering into it altogether. إذا تحريم الخلود هو في حق من لقي الله موحدا مصرا على كبيرة. So therefore, the prohibition of of remaining inside of the hellfire for all eternity, this is as it relates to the one who meets Allah Ta'ala as the person of Tawheed, but they are persistent upon a major sin. وَأَمَّا تَحْرِيمَ الدُّخُولِ, as for the prohibition of entering into it altogether, هو الصنف الثاني, then this is that second category, في حق من لقي الله موحدا سالما من المعاصي. That is the one who meets Allah Ta'ala as the person of Tawheed, being safe and secure from sins. Being safe and secure from sins. وَمِنْ ذَلِكُمْ أَصْحَابُ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And from that category is the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa radiyallahu anhum. كلهم مشهود لهم بالجنة مقطوع لهم بها لا كلام في هذا. All of them, meaning all other Sahaba, are such that they have been promised paradise. And this is something which is decisive and definitive. There is no room for argument or debate regarding this. All of them. So when we say Al-Ashr, those 10 that were promised paradise, they are referred to that due to the fact that they have all 10 been mentioned in one narration. Abu Bakr fil Jannah, Umar fil Jannah, Uthman fil Jannah, Ali fil Jannah, to the end of it. Now, all 10 of them mentioned in one narration. Now, but generally speaking, all of the Sahaba are Ahlul Jannah. They're all the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, are the people of paradise. Now, he says, لكن اختص جماعات وأفراد منهم بأن شهد لهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بأعينهم وبأعيانهم. No. He said, however, you have specific groups amongst them and individuals amongst them who have been testified to or attested to by the Prophet alayhi wasallam individually as being from the people of paradise. وإلا فكلهم مآلهم الجنة. Otherwise, we say that all of the companions, their end result is Jannah. هذا هو التحقيق فلا إله إلا الله مقيدة بقيود. He says, so this is the actualization of this matter. So the statement La ilaha illallah, it is restricted by way of certain restrictions. And what do we mean when we say restrictions? We're speaking about the conditions of La ilaha illallah. Now, Hassan al-Basri was said to him, أَلَيْسَ مَنْ قَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ دَخَلَ جَنَّةً. Will not the individual who says La ilaha illallah enter into paradise? قَالَ بَلَى. He said, yes, of course, the one who says La ilaha illallah will enter paradise. He says, مَنْ قَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَأَدَّى فَرْضَهَا وَحَقَّهَا. He says La ilaha illallah and he performs what is obligatory as it relates to that statement, and he gives that statement its due right. So it's not that simply that you say it. It's not merely that you say it with there being no substance to it or it having no connection to your heart whatsoever. Rather, you say it and you bring forth all of the obligations of that statement, meaning singling out Allah Ta'ala and worship alone, not making shirk with him. Otherwise, you have people who they perform prayer as you perform prayer. They say La ilaha illallah in the course of the salah in the tashahhud. Then they stand up and they do what? Go and make dua to someone inside of the grave. They stand up and they now set up intermediaries between themselves and Allah Ta'ala from their dead saints and the likes of this. So that this person has not performed the obligation of La ilaha illallah, nor has he given a statement its due right, even though he said it. Even though he said it. So we must not just utter the statement upon our tongues with it having no connection to our heart, or we don't seek to actualize the statement. Rather, you say it as Hassan al-Basri said, وَأَدَّى فَرَضَهَا وَحَقَّهَا. And you bring forth its obligation, meaning you do what that statement makes obligatory upon you, and you give that statement its due right. هَذَا هُوَ الَّذِي يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ دُخُولًا أَوَّلِيًّا. This is the person who will enter into the paradise دخول أولي. He will enter into it right away without even touching the hellfire at all. سئل وهب ibn Munabbih, and likewise Wahab ibn Munabbih, he was asked, أليس مفتاح الجنة لا إله إلا الله? It's not the statement لا إله إلا الله the key to paradise. قال بلى. He said, of course it is. لكن ليس من مفتاح إلا وله أسنان. He said, however, there's no key except that it has teeth or ridges. It has teeth or ridges. He said, من أتى الباب بأسنانه فتح له. And whoever comes to the door with the right teeth upon his key, the door shall be opened for him. ومن لم يأتي الباب بأسنانه لم يفتح له. And whoever does not come to the door with the proper teeth upon his key, or the proper ridges upon his key, the door shall not be opened for him. Shaykh Ubaid says, so look at this excellent example which was struck by this great man amongst the Salaf, Wahab ibn Munabbih, from the At-Tamimi. Now, it is something which the people can visualize. We know how keys work, right? We know how keys work, and we know if I were to bring my key and try to stick it in your door, the door is not going to open because it's not the proper. I don't have the proper ridges upon my key to enter the door to your house, nor is your key going to work at my door. Now, however, these keys that he's speaking about are the conditions of La ilaha illallah. They are the conditions of La ilaha illallah. So we bring forth those conditions. Now, we bring forth the condition of ilm, of knowledge, which is the opposite of al-jahl, of ignorance. Now, likewise, al-yaqeen, or certainty, which is the opposite of what? Shak, or doubt. Likewise, that of al-qubul, or acceptance, which is the opposite of rejection. Likewise, the key of al-inqiyad, or submission and compliance. Now, and likewise, we bring forth the key of al-ikhlas, and sincerity. Likewise, we bring forth the key of as-sidq, and truthfulness, that we're truthful when we utter that statement, because some of the people say it, but they don't mean it. They don't believe it. Like the hypocrites. They say it, but they don't believe it. So we say that we actually believe it. We are truthful in our utterance of the statement. Our tongues correspond with what is inside of our hearts. And likewise, that of mahabba, of love. And some of the ulama, these are the 7 conditions of La ilaha illallah. Well, some of them they mention 7, some of them say 8, some of them say 9. So if we say 8, then we likewise we bring forth the condition of al-kufr, of disbelief in whatever contradicts that statement. You totally disbelieve and reject whatever contradicts that statement. And likewise, if we say the 9, then we bring forth the 9th condition, and that is dying upon it. Because if we say the testimony of faith in the earlier part of our lives, and we reject it later in our lives and die upon something else, then the earlier testimony of faith which we stated is not going to benefit us. So we must bring forth all of these conditions in order for that statement to benefit us. This is how the door will open for us. These are the ridges to that key. Now, and so this concludes the lesson for this evening. Then we will pick up later next month, inshallah ta'ala, from the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And Allah ta'ala knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. Was told that we have a few questions. Now, one question mentions Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I told my Christian friend about Islam. Maybe I didn't tell her in the right way. She kind of cuts me off. Should I persuade back to our friendship because I fear I led her away from Islam, or should I let her be? If you believe that it's going to be useful, then there's nothing wrong with holding on to your friend and seeking to call them to Islam in another way. And we don't leave any stone unturned. We know our religion is an-nasiha. This deen is an-nasiha, and we don't make it a condition as to whether or not we're going to give nasiha uh, whether we believe a person is going to accept our nasiha or not. That's not a condition. We give advice because advice is part of our religion, and we leave no stone unturned in giving the advice. So we call the person to Islam openly, we call them in secret, we call the person to Islam verbally, in written form, giving them things to read. We leave no stone unturned without being too pushy and forceful, lest we push someone away or we make Islam, we misrepresent Islam in some kind of way. But this is what we view. There's nothing wrong with continuing your companionship with this person, as long as they are open and receptive to the deen of Islam. Allahumma salli. The question says, Ahsanallahu ilaykum wa ilaykum. How many books should a student of knowledge study at a time? You don't want to, for your studies to be scattered. You want to be able to focus on whatever subject matter you're focusing upon. And there's nothing wrong with sectioning off your day. So you give a portion of your day, for example, to study fiqh. You have a small Risaalah in fiqh, and you study that Risaalah, you memorize if you have the ability to. Or the ulama, they say, if you don't have the ability to memorize that, then you read that book repeatedly until it's shibh al-hifz, as they say, as if you've memorized it. Ma'am, and you dedicate a certain portion of your day to that. Then you dedicate a certain portion of your day to Aqidah. You dedicate a certain portion of your day to Quran. You dedicate a certain portion of your day, and you section your days off like this. This is how the student of knowledge operates with his time or her time. Now, and then you dedicate a portion of your day for muraja'ah and review of whatever you have memorized and studied for that day. And the next day, perhaps you take some other subjects. Then the following day, you come back to that what you studied in the first day. And so, like this, as far as we know, as far as any given subject, we recommend one book at a time in that subject. So, for example, one book that you're studying until you complete it in the field of Aqidah, such as Kitaab At-Tawheed, or what have you. Another book that you're studying in fiqh, such as شروط الصلاة وأركانها وواجباتها, مثلا in fiqh. Memorize that book, you study that book in fiqh, or you memorize something small in hadith. Now, and you go through that book until you complete that book, such as Al-Arba'un an-Nawawiyah. And like this, one book in a subject until you complete that book, and then you move on to the next book in that subject, if that's clear. Again, dedicating a portion of your time to each subject throughout the day, and not studying multiple books upon for one particular subject at a time. Allah knows best. Is it a condition of giving zakat that the person who is given the zakat is told that this is zakat money? Also, a person in debt is given zakat money and he uses it for his needs, but not for repaying the debt. Is this zakat valid? Okay. As it relates to the first portion of the question, is it a condition of giving zakat that the person who was given the zakat is told that this is zakat money? No, it is not. If you give it to an individual, if you give it to Mathalan, you give it to an organization to distribute on your behalf. Perhaps you may give it to a masjid. And the masjid, and you give it to the masjid, and you say, okay, this is my zakat money. You should let them know, so that it doesn't get mixed up with other sadaqah money from the masjid, because perhaps the masjid receives donations to pay bills or to pay the imam or to, perhaps give to those who are in need whenever they ask for it, perhaps fund dawah projects and so on and so forth. And so if you give the masjid money and you don't say anything, perhaps the money will be utilized for that. But if you give the masjid money and you let it be known to the those responsible for the masjid, this is my zakat money, I would like you to distribute the zakat on my behalf. They can ensure that the money goes to those who are in need of it. But if you give it to a specific person who may be in need of zakat, he may be from those categories of people who are eligible to receive the zakat, It is not binding upon you to tell them that this is zakat money. No. As it relates to the person who is in debt, being given zakat, and he utilizes the money and some other means other than to pay his debt, then the person who gave the zakat, his responsibility has been fulfilled. There's nothing due upon him for how that person chooses to spend the money that was given. And Allah knows best. Last question. What do you advise to one seeking to rectify his inner self, but not seeing progress and gets so much evil thoughts and is very displeased with himself, almost giving up on himself? We say to this individual, do not despair from the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a person came to him and he was complaining about the sins that he repeatedly fell into, asking him, what should he do? Ali said, seek Allah's forgiveness and repent. The man said, I do that, but I continue to go back and do the same sins. What should I do? Ali said, seek Allah's forgiveness and repent. The man said, okay, but I do that and I keep going back to the same sin. What should I do? Ali said, seek Allah's forgiveness and repent. The man said, how many times can I do that? Ali said, until shaitan is defeated. You wear shaitan out. Don't let him wear you out. Shaitan will love to deceive you and to trick you by way of this, making you despair to give up on the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. But this life is a struggle. We're constantly struggling and we are constantly slipping and falling. We have to continue to get up. We have to continue to strive to fear Allah Ta'ala to the best of our ability, asking Allah to purify our heart, knowing and understanding that we are not able to do anything. We are not able to do anything without Allah Ta'ala. Our Shaykh Mustafa Mubram, he mentioned a great benefit concerning the statement of the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, that in the Sa'ida man junib al-fitan, that indeed the Sa'id is the one who junib al-fitan, the one who is taken away from fitan. And he said that the passive verb is utilized here, junib al-fitan, he is taken away from fitan, as an indication that it's not something that you can do on your own. Rather, it's by way of the tawfiq of Allah Azza wa Jal. We have to realize that we are weak, we are incapable, and we can't do anything without Allah Ta'ala. So call upon your Lord and keep calling upon Allah Ta'ala, asking Him to purify your heart, realizing that you cannot do it on your own. You cannot purify it on your own. You have to strive to ask your Lord to assist you in this matter, to purify your heart and to rectify your affairs. Doing everything within your capability to give yourself a fighting chance, doing those things that will help to strengthen your iman. We know amongst the things that strengthen and increase our iman is beneficial knowledge, increases the iman. Likewise, righteous actions, good deeds, benefits and it strengthens our iman and increases our iman, as well as righteous companionship. Righteous companionship, whether it be your friends that you associate with, and I'm not sure if the question is a male or a female. I assume it's a male because it said himself. Now, so your companions amongst the brothers who you choose to mix and mingle with, or it may be your spouse. A righteous companion, righteous spouse, righteous friends, all of these things serve to strengthen and increase our iman. Just as the opposite is true, that religious ignorance weakens your iman. Likewise, evil deeds weakens your iman. Likewise, evil companions and friends weaken your iman. So this is what we advise with. You strive to rectify your inner self by way of beseeching your Lord for help in this matter. Beseeching your Lord for help in this matter. Knowing that you must seek the help of Allah Ta'ala and not give up in doing so. And don't despair of Allah Ta'ala's mercy. And continue to struggle and strive until you meet Allah Ta'ala upon this way. Allah Ta'ala knows best. We conclude with this, inshallah ta'ala. If there's nothing else, هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وخير دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.